everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Soul Care Nomad. My name is Matthew Wilbanks, and I'm here with my travel buddy, Dr. John Okinaga. Dr. O, how was your week this week?
It was busy.
I wonder why.
It was just insane. We had a fundraiser for Restoration Ranch, Texas on Thursday night. And then one of my former students heard that I was going to be there and invited, Nicole and James to go to their lake house for the weekend. So that's where we were until just maybe an hour or so ago. So James went on a boat, and yeah, it was good times.
Good. I got to do a really cool thing. We did Fields of Faith this week, and we had probably, I think, I kind of did a rough count, but I think we had about 50 students make a decision for Christ.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's cool.
It was super, super cool. I was able to pray over one student and who has a kid, which is like, I couldn't imagine all that, and high school. So lots of bad decisions led to good moments, I think.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm super excited to see what happens from that. And then yesterday I had worked like it went till I think 8:30 on Wednesday. So I got at the office at about 8. I didn't get back home till like almost 9 o'clock. And I just didn't go into the office yesterday. I was like, I'm good.
Yeah, you can take a break.
Yeah. But no, it was really good. It was really good. So really quickly before we get into it, what did you do down at Restoration Ranch?
So it was just their fundraiser. I mean, it was pretty darn cool, dude. Like, I have a former certificate student, Joshua Harris. He has a drug and alcohol place called Oak Ridge Discipleship House. So he invited me to go speak at his place last summer, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Yeah, last summerish, 23. I went down to speak for him, and I saw his place. I'm like, dude, if I was to run a rehab, this is what I want it to be. And I was like, by the way, I'm on the board for one of my doctoral students, Jen Wakefield, and she's trying to start a female version of what you're starting, and it's called Restoration Ranch. I was like, would you mind, they're in the same part of Texas. They're both in Florence, Texas.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I think it'd be cool if you just met her and help answer questions, because you can be a good resource for her. So that started a friendship between Josh and Jen. And then a little bit after that, Jen goes, hey, I need to hire a director for the house, for the girls. And I was like, well, I have former, just connecting Swibbits people all around. And so I was like, hey, I have Holly Summers. She's actually in your area. And the only reason I knew she was in her area was I went and spoke for Holly's church last year as well, about biblical counseling. I was like, hey, Holly, I think Holly would be a great choice. So I connected Josh with Jen with Holly. And so long story short, we have the gala, whatever. I'm not bougie. I don't know how to say it. The gala on Thursday night. And Josh said, hey, you're going to be there? I'm like, I'll be there because I have big news. I was like, oh, sweet, big news. And then Jen comes up to me and says, hey, you won't believe this. Josh, because Jen and Josh have been working together. Josh is helping with some stuff. And she goes, yeah, 2 weeks ago, Josh gave us $1 million.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah. Insane. So, Josh has a speaking part on Thursday, and he just announces it's the Second Chance Foundation. He doesn't want to. The guy who gave the money wants to remain anonymous. We just know his name is Mike, and he just kind of detailed how, going from a certificate student of mine, I connected him with Jen and all this stuff. And, to be honest, Matt, this week, the last 10 days, 12 days have kind of been a roller coaster for me.
Mm-hmm.
Just, am I at where God wants me to be, and all this kind of stuff. And it started with, so I got an offer. I got, name your price type of offer. And then on Saturday, I met with Dr. Babler. And I was like, hey, Dr. Babler, I don't know what's going on. Like, I keep getting offers. This is probably the best one, name your price type of deal. And I said, I don't understand why I keep listening. What I realized was I had just talked to one of the guys I'm counseling,
Mm.
and he's going he had some marriage issues a couple months ago, and I've been working through with him. And he goes, hey man, I'm just bored. Like, they went from drinking and partying for their fun getaway things, and now they're not. He goes, I'm just bored. And it kind of just clicked, like, that's what it is. I'm bored.
Mm.
I am absolutely bored out of my mind at my job. And what I mean by that is, Dr. Babler said, I've always had beachheads to conquer, something to achieve.
Mm-hmm.
I got my undergrad, master's, and PhD in seven years. That's
Yeah.
pretty darn quick.
It's stupid.
And then I got my ACBC certification to being a fellow and then a grader in 2.5 years, which is once again stupid fast.
Yep.
And then in the meantime, I took over the certificate program. When I took it over, I think we had 35 total this last semester. So in 3 semesters, we're now at 112.
Mm.
And then when I took over the PDS, we had 4 total. And, PDS office told me last week or 2 weeks ago that the biblical counseling PDS is the biggest in the school.
Hmm.
But it's like, and then I've written all the books, right? And I came out with my addiction project, and I was just like, what's my next hill to conquer? What's my next mountain to climb or whatever?
Mm-hmm.
And then I was talking to Dr. Babler, and he was like, well, maybe you need to tell them that you want a path to certain things. So that was my plan, this past week, that was the plan. Go in, talk to the boss, and say, hey, look, I'm bored. This is my new hill I want to climb. And, kind of just, that's kind of probably why I'm interested in all these other jobs, is all these other places are giving me free reign to build however I want. Like, free reign, no handcuffs, nothing. Budget, whatever I want, pay
Mm-hmm.
whatever I want. And it was just freedom, like, to grow something. So that was the original plan on Saturday after talk to Dr. Babler.
Mm.
And then on Sunday at church, Pastor John, in Pastor John's sermon, he talked about a quote. And the quote that he used was, a man who is a workaholic is really just a sluggard at home.
Mm.
He's working hard at his job to avoid the harder work that needs to be done at home. A man who neglects his church, his family, and even his own health for work has failed to put the same kind of effort into things that matter more. His life is not in order.
Mm.
So that kind of got me, it was profound enough that I posted it on social media, like, oh, that's
Mm-hmm.
good stuff. And then Monday, I came across this X tweet, Twitter, I don't know, X feed, and I'm going to read it for everyone because this has impacted me probably the most since aside from getting sober and turning my life over to Christ. This is probably one of the most impactful things that I've read. And this tweet goes, my dad's a genius, read a book a week for 30 years, socially strong and networks well, can fix anything, great leader. And he puts, he never moved up in his company. I asked him why, and his answer brought me to tears. Here's the best lesson my dad taught me that you need to hear. And he said, he told me at 25 he gave up drinking for good. His dad was a war hero but had a drinking problem, and he was on the same path until he met Jesus at 24 and I was born. He didn't go to college. He married my mom at 18 to escape childhood, and at 18 and a half, they were pregnant with my sister. He had to grow up fast and took a job at an auto parts store at 18. He was quickly promoted and promoted again to assistant manager by 20. At 23, he was promoted to manager and running his entire shop. The money is good, but the hours weren't. 60 plus hours a week and never home. His mentor, a man named Bill Miller, and a manager of a bigger store, was stepping down after 40 years of service. My dad went to congratulate him, and what Bill told him changed my dad's life and ultimately mine forever. He pulled my dad aside and said, Gary, it's not worth it. I'm an old man now. I gave everything to this company. I miss my son's baseball games and my daughter's dance recitals. After 40 years, I got this bleeping watch. He threw it away. I wish I could go back and not work so much. My kids are grown and moved away. My dad remained friends with Bill, and the next year decided to step down as manager. He went on to work as a parts guy 5 days a week from 7:30 to 3:30. The thing I always recall about my childhood was my dad was always home and always there on weekends playing and coaching. Truthfully, this decision cost our family money. He grew up on the bottom cusp of lower middle class, but looking back, my childhood was the greatest. I never had the newest anything. We didn't dine at fancy places or take extravagant vacations. My dad was my hero. He worked as a parts guy at Ford and a couple companies over the next 40 years until retiring last year. He also coached all my sister's teams, made every dance recital of hers, and coached me in baseball, basketball, soccer, running, and football. To this day, his nickname with my friends is the legend. He
Hmm.
also ran 12 full marathons, got my mom into running and working out, and they did a marathon together. He volunteered for a small town 26 years in a row and built a gym there that is used by hundreds now. He still coaches and mentors youth in that gym today. He also got my sister and I interested in health and fitness from an early age. Our family has run 5 relay marathons together. My kids are active and healthy, and so are my sister because of him. I reflect back on what my childhood would have been like if my dad did the normal thing, if he prioritized work and money over family and health like a lot of men do. I'm grateful he decided not to be normal and climbed the company ladder. I'm glad he was home. And it goes presence, like Presence, over presents, Presents.
Hmm.
And, I read that and I'm like, if I want more, I'd have to give up stuff that I'm not willing to give up.
Hmm.
So right now I go to work at 7:15, usually some days a little bit later recently because I've been ever since ACBC, bro, I've been exhausted. 50 hours in 3 days was stupid.
Mm-hmm.
But, normally I go 7, I leave the house at 7, do my job, do work. I leave school around 2:33, pick up James, hang out with him. If I move up the ladder, I won't be able to do that. I have to stay till 5 every
Hmm.
day. Probably be required to write more. And I don't want to. Like, whatever selfish drive was there on Saturday disappeared.
Hmm.
Like, I'm good if I never. I'm even good if I never move up from associate or assistant professor, whatever my title is. I'm good if I never move up. Like, I'm blessed. I have an amazing wife. I have a healthy kid. I have good friends. Like, I committed to Japan for 10 years. I'm not gonna renege on that promise. But I'm, you know, I even cut back my speaking engagements this semester quite a bit, and I think I'm gonna cut it even more. Like, I don't know if it's apathy or wisdom or what it is, but I'm like, I had fun with. I did no work yesterday, Matt. Zero.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Well, no, that's a lie. I returned some emails, but I did no work. I went on a boat. I hung out with my family. if I don't get another recognition for my job, but James says my dad's a legend, I'm good.
Hmm.
So all those things that I thought I wanted, I don't. I'm I don't. I'll keep supervising ACBC, but I'm not gonna. I think I have 10 right now I'm supervising, and after I'm done with this cycle, I'm gonna cut it to like 3.
Hmm.
I'm not gonna grade for ACBC. Nah. I don't need the money. I don't. Nah, I'm good. I'm done writing books. When I did the hard issue book, it was I probably put what I was working from 8 to 12 every day.
Hmm.
I'm done. And one of my buddies said, if you're to die tomorrow, they'll replace you by Friday. And it's true.
Hmm.
I'm going to do my best. God says that the word of God says that we're supposed to work as we're working for God to the Lord. Doesn't mean I'm going to be lazy. Doesn't mean I'm not going to put in my 50. I'll probably still put in 50 hours plus, but I'm not,
Yeah, let's be honest.
I'm not going to put in 80 anymore. I'm not going to slam my schedule with speaking engagements anymore.
Hmm.
I'm not gonna why? I'm gonna make it. You want me to speak? And before it was like, as long as it's only once a month, then you don't have to bring my family. But I'm gonna change it. You want me at any point? You got to bring my family. I'm not gonna. Yeah, I'm not gonna travel unless you bring my kid and my wife. I'm not gonna sacrifice my family for anything. I'm gonna go back to Hotworks. I started looking for a martial arts gym. James is old enough to start doing martial arts. Most schools start accept between 4 and 5. We'll take him down and see if they accept him. And I'm going to do martial arts with James twice a week.
Hmm.
And I'll go to Japan. I'll finish my agreement with Japan. But after that, I'm going to do Peru next year. And I agreed to Kazakhstan in 26. But after that, unless God says, hey, you need to travel to do training overseas, bring my kid, bring my wife. If you can't afford to bring my family, the answer is going to be no. Um, that beachhead, and I text Dr. Babler this on Wednesday. After I met with the boss on Tuesday, I said, I decided the next beach is going to be my health and my family. And that's what I'm going to do.
Hmm. One of the things that popped in my mind while you were talking about that was Ephesians 6:4, and it says, Fathers, don't stir up anger in your children, but bring them up in the training and instruction of the Lord. One of the things that we have to remember is that stirring up anger can be, done by almost anything. For me, in your situation, the one time that James said, Daddy works all the time, like there was something stirred in his heart that was, could have led him towards anger. And what did you do in that situation?
I stopped writing books.
Yeah, you put everything down and said, all right, we're done. I'm going to play with you. And
Yeah.
that's one of the things we have to remember is as 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 parents, there's a huge spiritual responsibility that is often passed on to the church, other family members, other friends, things like that. A lot of times it's passed on to media of any sort, social media, um, traditional media, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And what happens is we create a lot of angst in our homes. And home is supposed to be, in my mind, one of the safest places for a child.
Yeah.
And a lot of times we're very good at not creating we're actually, a lot of times we're very good at creating safety for ourselves and not for anyone else.
Mm.
And what we have to think in these situations is what truly matters most. And you think back to all the commands that God has given us, and one of them, the biggest one is follow me. And so we, deny ourselves and we take up our cross and we follow Christ. But the other one is, you know, fill the earth and multiply.
Yeah.
And we do that in two ways, really. We do that physically through, our families, but we also do that spiritually through discipleship. And the wonderful thing is, in the family, in the home, you have discipleship built into it.
Yeah.
Yet,
My biggest job is discipling James.
right,
Yeah.
yet
Yeah.
we neglect it. It's super easy to neglect it. And that's why the tweet that you read, that one guy who got that, I gave my life for this company for 40 years and all I got was a watch. Like, what really are we living for? I mean, what comes to mind is when Jesus says, what good is for someone to gain the whole world and yet lose his soul?
Yeah.
So we don't even gain the whole world. A lot of times we gain trinkets,
Mm.
and we give our entire life for something that's totally not worth 10, 20, 30, 40 years of work.
Yeah.
So what we need to do is we need to look at these things that stir up anger, stir up wrath, or even one translation says provoke our children.
Yeah.
What are these things that provoke? A lot of the times it's neglect.
Yeah. We don't pay attention to him.
Mm-hmm.
Like, daddy, pay attention to me. Like, that's what James says. And it's like, all right, son, put everything down. I'm going to pay attention to you.
Mm.
We slept at, bro, the house that we were at, this, you want to talk about mansion. I,
Mm-hmm.
I, I Googled, they give us a location to go there and punched it in. And before it went to maps, it went to Zillow. And I looked at that, I was like, holy cow, this is not a cheap home. Um, but I ended up, they had a bunk bed and there was three options for us to sleep on. One was the bunk bed, and then the other two bed had Tempur-Pedic mattresses, which probably would have been amazing for my neck and back. And um, they asked me this morning, "Hey, where did you sleep?" Nicole said, "Oh, I slept great. I slept on one of the Tempur-Pedic beds." And they said, "Where did you sleep?" And I said, "I slept on the bunk bed with James." And they're like, "Why would you do that?" And I said, "Because he was in a new place. He didn't feel safe. And there's going to be a time where I'm not that cool anymore and he's not going to spend time with me." So they're like, "Well, you slept on the worst bed in the whole house." And bro, my body's dying today. But, just whenever Nicole told me that James said I work too much, it had already started this shift for me. Like, I haven't written anything, bro,
Mm.
since then. Like, I finished up the addictions program stuff. I
Mm.
haven't written a single nothing. I'm going to be doing I'll be doing another different podcast. I think it's this week, and I'm pretty sure they're going to ask me to write stuff for them, and I'm going to tell them like, "Nah, I'm good. My days doing extra stuff are done. I'm not going to kill myself. I've gotten fat. I'm out of shape. I sacrificed my body to get this degree. I've sacrificed my body to write stuff, to write books, or do all these things overseas. And I'm like, I'm done.
Hmm.
I'm going to find a martial arts gym, dojo, whatever. I'm going to train at least twice a week. I'm going to take care of my health and go from there.
Hmm.
So you're gonna see skinny me next time you see me.
Oh, well. I mean, I'll be up there near graduation, so I don't know if
Yeah,
you're
that
gonna
won't
get.
happen that soon.
Yeah, I was
Shut
about
up.
to say it's a little too soon.
Yeah, yeah, no, I'll still be fat. But I just total shift. Like I don't care about. And the great thing, if anyone from school is listening, this is great news for this because I'm not going to take another job because all these other jobs are going to want me to work 60, 70-hour weeks, and I'm not willing to sacrifice that anymore.
Mm,
Like, I mean, Matt, they said name your price. Well, my price is I work 40-hour weeks and I have the weekends off, and you pay me the same. And I'm not I'm not going to kill myself over a title.
mm,
I'm going to invest in my son.
mm. Well, I mean, in 14 years when he graduates, shout out to all the big corporations going after you, um, unless you have another kid.
Yes. No, I mean, I I thought of my dad. Like my dad has turned on job opportunities when he was, working. He turned them down. So my dad was at every single baseball practice, every single basketball practice for me.
Hmm.
He would take my sister to, when I read that, I was like, that's my dad. Like that's the
Yep.
sacrifices my dad made for our family. And no, and in 14 years when James graduates, I'm going to be 61. They're not going to want me. I'm going to be too old.
Oh, fair. That's fair.
This is my prime for where I'm at career wise. This is my time to move up. And I'm going to be like, I'm good.
Yep. Because if you ever need any quick cash, you've always got a couple Shohei Otanis to sell.
Shut up. No, I mean, was, that presence versus presence line hit me so hard. James
Mm,
has so much toys because every time I go on a trip or whatever, I bring him back stuff.
mm,
And I almost guarantee you he would rather have time with me than, whatever car I bought him on the last trip.
mm.
I mean, I came home with so much crap from Japan this last trip. You know how much he's played with it? Nothing. Like he looked at it like, what is this? And he just tossed it. Like all
Yeah.
the there's some term for all the Japanese stuff I bought him that's supposed to be really popular with kids his age. Like I stuffed my pockets, bro, and I went back for seconds to buy him all this stuff. And he looked at it and he was like, "What is this?" Threw it on the side.
Mm-mm.
Yeah,
I mean, that's part of it. We weren't created to work ourselves to death. We were created to love the Lord with all of our hearts, souls, and minds, and we were also created to be that love to other people, which is love your neighbor as yourself.
yeah,
And part of it starts in the home. I mean, election season's over, so we can get overly political again.
mm,
Um, if you want to create a society that is wonderful to live in, you have to create a home that's wonderful to live in. And
yeah,
you have to bring other people alongside to realize that's what you need to do. It's not going to happen through policies. It's not going to happen through people. It's going to happen through you. It's deciding I am going to make my home a place that honors God and welcomes everyone.
yeah,
And I think that's part of it is understanding every single one of us is replaceable. I mean, there's always going to be the next, you know, cool counseling podcast, which I don't know if you can make a cool counseling podcast, let's be honest.
Ours
But
is
there's,
pretty darn cool though.
I mean, I did make the music on my own. So I've put a lot of heart into it.
We're way cooler than the Truth and Love podcast.
Very, very true. Very true.
Not as smart, but we're way fun. We're way more fun than
Exactly.
Dale's Truth and Love podcast.
That's Dr. Johnson to you.
Yeah, Dr. J to me.
But part of it is, if we want to create a society that is welcoming and honoring God, we got to create homes that do that. And that's the first step, is understanding, am I provoking my child to, feelings against what the Bible says is good because of what I'm doing? And if that's the case, then, as Paul says in 1 Corinthians 11, examine yourself. What is it that you're doing that is causing so much, disdain, so much sin, and deal with the problem. And I think that's one of the things we have to remember as we close out our time here in any part of our lives. If we are feeling that there's distance between us, between us and God, us and other people, well, the first place we have to look at isn't, well, what are they doing? Well, what's the social climate? What is the political climate? The first thing we have to do is, what am I contributing to this? And that's what we have to look at. And Doctor, that's one of the things that you've seen, is you are contributing to some difficulty, and you have, you've started the process of fixing that and dealing with those issues. And that's what we need to do for anything that happens in our life, is what is the main heart issue? What is going on?
Yeah.
And simply, it's because we have misaligned ourselves with Scripture.
Yeah, and real quick, I don't want people to think, well, I think I'm better than those climbing the ladder. If that's what God's placed on your heart, hey, we need people in certain leadership positions. I'm not saying don't do that. I'm just saying, for me and my house, this is what's best for my family. Right. I'm not, this isn't one of those, hey, you need to give up everything. If God has called you to, move up that ladder, then you move up that ladder, and you do it to the best of your God-given abilities. But at the same time, don't forget your family.
That was actually one of the things that we talked about on Wednesday at Fields of Faith, was your God-given ability isn't for you. It's actually for the good of others.
Yeah, it's for the kingdom.
Right. And right now, your ability is for your family, and spending time with your son, spending time with your wife and your parents. I mean, there's so much to do that. So use what God has given you for the good of others, and not just yourself, ultimately.
Correct. Yeah. I don't want anyone to think I'm not judging anyone. I'm the last person to judge. I'm just saying, for where I'm at in my life, in this season of my life, and who knows, in a year, God might be like, all right, fatty, you've lost the weight. You're good. You've been able to manage your time at home better. This is the next challenge for you. But I'm just saying, for this season, this is where I'm at.
And you always have a weekly speaking engagement anyways, by, appearing on the podcast.
Shut up.
So that'll do it for us this episode. Thank you so much for listening to Soul Care Nomad. All of Dr. O's stuff is in the description. Get it while it's still up there before he takes it down.
Yeah.
And we will see y'all in the next one.
All right. Be good. Don't be stupid.
Bye, everybody.